This is Brownie's Podcast.
Welcome to Brownie's Podcast. I'm in Dino's seat today. JB's in the studio. G'day, mate.
Jeez, how are you?
Beck's here.
Hey.
How are you, Beck? Jeez, I was going to say, what's happened to the voice of the great man, mate? Now, he's had a big night at Logies last night.
Talk us through that.
Our man Dino, because Dino was on Pang's team. He was on his joke writing team as part of the production crew behind the scenes. There was three of the boys. Because Pang knocked it out of the park at the Logies last night. It was the best thing that's happened to the Logies in a long time, to be honest. And we're not being biased. Last Sunday was all about celebrating our other co-host, Nathan Buckley. Now, it's fair to say that Pang's Logie performance went a little bit better than Bucks' hamstring did last Sunday.
Much better. I tuned into the start of the Logies and I wanted Ricky Gervais vibes. That's what I wanted. And his opening line when he said, "Oh, it's great on the first half and half host." I didn't know. I went, "Oh my god!" And then he said, "I'm half 7, half 10." I thought that was just a really nice little
clip.
Nice little lay of words.
You know when he entered. So when he entered the stage, now this wouldn't have been noticeable to many, but to the keen eye, as a man obviously that's been coached by Lee Matthews for a very long time, Lee has a distinctive walk, especially when he would charge out to the huddles for the quarter time or three-quarter time address. As a little nod to Lee Matthews, Sam Pang walked out in his first three strides as the great Lee Matthews.
Swinging arms.
Swinging arms. When he has the swinging arms out and the thumbs extended. So all the punters out there that think they know Lee Matthews, just go back and watch Pang's first 2 or 3 steps as he enters the stage.
Did he tell you he was going to do that? Or
he did. He'd been planning it for a few weeks. He's been practicing because he prides himself quite often when we go anywhere. Pang will pride himself. He'll yell out, "Hey, boys." And he'll turn around and there he'll be walking as Lee Matthews.
Yeah, right.
So it was a little bit of a nod there.
Well, it wasn't the only Lee Matthews reference for the night because BT's had an absolute shocker. He's gone up there. He's on the Channel 7 table. 7 AFL were nominated, of course. And at the start of the night, one of the waitresses spilt her tray and a couple of flutes of champagne went over BT's jacket, right?
How would that have gone down?
Not well, but he sort of dusted himself off and thought, well, my night can only get better. And then a wiggle. Don't know exactly what coloured wiggle, but a wiggle came up to him and said, "I'm a massive fan of football and my friend thinks you're an absolute legend in the game. Can I grab a photo with you?" So he obviously obliged BT, and he does like that sort of stuff. Doesn't he? Gets the chest
absolutely.
out. And then right after he's had the photo, he goes, "Mate, I'm going to send this straight through to my mate now. Thank you so much. Really great meeting you, Lee." Thought he was Lee Matthews. So the moustache, mate. So BT's had an absolute shocker.
Of course, he was coached by Lee Matthews, wasn't he? But there's a fair height difference and size difference, I would have thought. Hey, what about the quip at the end of the monologue when only Pang can get away with this when he's talking about "I'm a celebrity," all the different shows, and saying "I'm a celebrity," and he was going to go on "I'm a celebrity," but he didn't because for all those people that fought in the war for Australia, he didn't think that they'd appreciate an Asian man walking out of a jungle. So the crowd did not know whether to laugh or go, but eventually they clicked in.
A little bit of political incorrectness, I think, is the best type of humour.
Mate, you got to have a bit of edginess. Now, our man Dino, who was there supporting, they end up in Daryl Summers' suite till 6 a.m. this morning.
Daryl Summers?
From
Hey, it's Saturday.
It's Saturday phone.
He still goes hard, does he?
Still goes hard. I just got off the phone to Dino. He said that's where they end up, in Daryl Summers' room till 6 a.m.
Well, I would never have predicted that, but he's had a massive one, has he?
Not sure what they're doing. Pin the tail on the donkey or something like that.
Was Red Simons there?
Well, Red was there gonging. At 6 a.m. he gonged them. But Dino's had a tough morning because he's heading to Bali. And
I'm back here.
Yes.
And we've missed each other by 48 hours.
Well, he was going to Bali, so Sydney to Brisbane, there, and then obviously the connect into,
he's missed his flight.
Into Bali.
Has he?
He blames. Now, we know Dino's so useless when it comes to organising himself. His flight was late getting into Brisbane Airport, then he missed the Bali flight. So now
he's in Brisbane. So he made the first one, Sydney to Brisbane, but he's missed the Bali leg.
He's missed the Bali leg. So now the only way to get to Bali tonight, he's now got to get on a plane from Brisbane back to Melbourne to catch a flight from Melbourne to Bali tonight.
Really?
And he's as flat as a
He'd be
pancake.
so hungover as well. He'd have
He
his
is.
suit in one hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
So,
it was an unbelievable round of footy, JB. Even your better footy tipsters that like to pick an upset would have only got 3 or 4 for the round, and it all started Friday night with the Blues, and obviously you dropped the $1 million bet, which we haven't been credited for again, but that bloke that put that bet on, he never would have felt comfortable at any stage of that match.
Just it was a long way out to have the bet. This was about a month ago, so a good mate of mine who's one of the traders at the tab, he gave me the mail 2 days before it was broken, apparently, but we broke it straight away.
Of course we did.
But $1 million at $1.40 against Carlton, who had just, I think they'd knocked over Gold Coast, they'd had to buy, and then they'd knocked over Hawthorn comfortably, and you just thought as if they
Starting
were
to get
growing
their mojo,
something.
yeah.
Absolutely. And the Pies, if you actually look at all the stats, the Pies have been just getting it done. We've brought it up on this podcast a few times, so he would never have been comfortable. Now, 10 minutes into the first quarter, the Pies looked very good. Blues took a while to settle, but apart from that, it was a domination from the Blues.
Yeah, they were good, weren't they? And big Charlie Curno's playing his best footy for the season. Coincidence that Harry Mackay's not there?
It's interesting, isn't it? You know, because now what's happened is their smaller forwards have really come into play. So I think Cunningham and Martin have come back and they've been fantastic. Owies has been really good there.
Motlop kicked 4 against
was 4 as well.
West Coast.
So they're being able to get that speed at ground level. Now, to be able to compete against Collingwood, you need to be able to compete at the ground level. And they absolutely wiped the floor with Collingwood when the ball was on the deck. No question about that. So it is an interesting one, isn't it? Vossi's going to stick fat. Charlie McCurnow's going to stick fat with Harry Mackay and say they're a better team. But at the moment, they're not. They're proving that they're actually a better team without Harry Mackay. So it was a big upset. It's amazing, isn't it, momentum in sport, Dog? You know, now Carlton have got their tails up.
Yep.
All their good players are all playing well. Their role players are having an impact. And, you know, they're just getting it done. And now you'd have to say, in that sort of form, they're as dangerous as anyone in September.
Well, it was a big win, wasn't it? It pumps them into the top 8. I think they're sitting 7th at the moment. A few other results went their way. I wouldn't have thought that Fremantle could have gone down to the Cattery and knocked them over. They were $1.05, the Cats. I think Fremantle was $7. Were they $7?
Got out to $14.
$14.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. No, Blitzarves got injured and Tomahawk, which probably helped Fremantle, but they were magnificent as well. So that was a huge upset. I think
until he put a fork in the Cats. Blitzarves gone. Now looks like he's gone for a while. Tom Hawkins injured as well.
I still think they play finals. I just don't know whether they can win it.
Yeah, I don't think they can make an impact now. You can't drop games, especially they dropped 2 now at home to GWS and to Fremantle. I did the Q Clash, and it was it was an interesting game, wasn't it? So we'll talk about the testicle incident a little bit later on.
Squirrel
I just want to drill into Gold Coast a second. I'm going to do it again tonight on the couch, but
helps when Benny King he looked dangerous from the opening minute.
He did. Yeah, mate, he got to work. He competed really hard, and so often with players, it looks like they're not trying from the outside. Now they're all trying. But they lose their spark, they can overthink it. Now, he got back to his core of just competing and bringing the ball to ground. He got rewarded with goals early. I love how Tuke Miller went after Lachie Neale. He set the tone.
That was a statement.
That was a statement. Apparently, he went into the coaches early in the week and said, I want Neale. Now, that's a statement from the captain, isn't it? It's like, hey, boys, follow me.
Yep.
I think he's one of the better leaders in the competition, Brown Dog, and they cleaned the lines up. The lines were a little bit off. The lines have been up for quite a few weeks now. They won the last 9 against Gold Coast, so could be forgiven for subconsciously, Dog, thinking, oh, no, we're just going to roll over the top of these boys. But Gold Coast were impressive. I actually think, and I've been trumpeting this for a while, Dog, I think it's one of the best jobs in footy.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt it's a great job. They've got so much talent. Is it when you get a response like this from a club, and they've won a couple of games now under their new caretaker coach in King, is it a sign that they did the right thing getting rid of Stewie Jew, or it's just the natural response you get?
No, I think it's the right thing. Yeah, as hard as that is to say, and for Stewie Jew to hear, I think it's the right thing. I think the time is now for an experienced coach to come in, and I would have thought Damien Hardwick's a smart man. He would realise the offering he has on the table in terms of the talent on that list and the talent coming through. They've got 3 kids, all Australians this year in the under-18s. They've got 5 all Australians in the under-16 squad. They're all academy kids, Dog, including 2 potential top 5 draft picks this year. What does a prospective coach want? He wants ongoing talent, doesn't he? Because you need to build through the draft to have a core of a great team. And that's what the Gold Coast Suns really do. And I don't think people in the southern states appreciate that, Dog.
Essendon have been their own worst nightmare. It was another close game that they should have won. They got
North Melbourne and West Coast the next 2 weeks. So they're still going to be able to hang around. They'll beat those two.
The big Texan is in career best form. I've said this last week on the potty. If he can just stay within 6 or 7 goals of Charlie Curnow, everyone thinks Curno's going to run away and win the Coleman. But they've got the West Coast Eagles in round 24 over in Perth when it could be a big bag on offer.
Absolutely.
He could still win it. He's playing great footy, and Crows have lost a few close ones this year, but they
haven't been going as bad as people thought.
Yep.
You know, they're close against Melbourne, the G, close against Collingwood, the G, a couple of weeks before that. So they just need to get a win, though. What is it about key forwards now? Dog, I was a key forward. We're big guys. You carry a lot of weight around. 30 usually was the number. You're gone over the G. You get to 30, pretty much done. Now, key forwards, Tom Hawkins, Tex Walker, case in point, playing their best footy post 30. Post 30. Why? Because the game's still hard.
Yeah, it is hard. I think they get a few more opportunities to compete one-on-one. Those guys have trimmed up a little bit in their latter years, don't you think? They're not as big and bulky as they once were. They're covering the ground a bit better. And I just think if you're a beautiful shot on goal and a long-range shot on goal, which both Tomahawk is, but certainly Tex was kicking goals yesterday on his left from 50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's creating opportunities, but he's in great form.
What do you think of the Alir situation? So head clash with Lockie Jones. Lockie Jones was ruled out straight away. Now, I think he had a migraine or a headache, so I'm not sure he actually did the concussion test, but Alir actually didn't do a concussion test and was allowed back on.
I always put 100% of my faith in the medical staff, the doctors. The doctors have gone through 10 years of college and exams and everything to get where they are. They're usually quite old, and they've been in the job for 20, 30, 40 years, right? Highly respected. So it always annoys me and angers me a little bit when commentators, and it's happened before on Channel 7, spectators, past players that aren't down there on the bench, that haven't sat with the doctor and the player during the medical assessment, that are making pot shots from behind the boundary, because really they don't know what's going on. Now, things can look really bad, right? And not be the case, and vice versa. Things can be innocuous and all of a sudden you're in a bit of trouble. So if you've got a highly respected doctor, and it's not the first time that they've questioned this Port Adelaide doctor. There was a game last year where there was a head clash and some blood coming out of a cheek of Butters and things like that. These guys aren't going to stake their whole reputation, open themselves up to be liable to getting sued, so a player can get back on the field in a showdown 5 or 10 minutes quicker than they're meant to. So I don't like it.
I hate it, Dog. Absolutely. Question their integrity, no doubt about it. Their expertise. That's essentially what you're doing. You shouldn't be doing that. The doctors know the player best. They spend so much time with the players. They're with them 2 or 3 days a week. They know them for a number of years, obviously. So they know how a player is and whether a player's got his full faculties at the time, and then they make the best judgment call at the time. But we know
Jay Schultz has come out and tweeted, and he's a guy that's going through this lawsuit with. You got Peter Jess, who's come out, who's heading that lawsuit, taking pot shots across the bow. You've got you've got journalists that have all of a sudden got their medical degree.
The doctors are under a lot of pressure now, especially like, say, 60 Minutes last night. Wally Lewis had a story about he's showing the early signs of CTE. So there's a lot of pressure on the doctors to make the correct decision. So all the doctors now are going to lean to the conservative side. Of course. So if he let Alir back on, he was clear in his judgment that he felt as if Alir had his faculties and there was no need for the... And when you actually see the knock, you know, like, it wasn't the heaviest knock of all time. So you can understand a player can go down and he can be shocked by the hit. You can look at it, it's a teammate as well. He can be affected in another part of his body. So move on.
Yeah, no.
There's no chance. There is no chance the doctors are fined, or the doctor is fined by the AFL, because then that's just questioning that doctor's integrity, and it has an effect on his local clinic, because these doctors aren't full-time employed by the AFL. They've got their own clinics to look after as well, which is their bread and butter.
The Saints were good. Melbourne were really good, heavily challenged by the Tigers. Now, have they finally worked out their forward structure, JB?
They solved the Rubik's Cube. Have they solved the Rubik's Cube, mate?
Yes.
And is Brody Grundy a part of that Rubik's Cube?
They've solved the Rubik's Cube, and then you give it to someone else and they deliberately mess it back up, right?
Yeah.
Now you've got to solve it again. And if you can't remember how to solve it, you're in trouble. I don't think you'll ever get a game of football played by the Melbourne Footy Club where you're going to get 14 goals out of Harrison Petty, Van Rooyen, and Jake Melksham ever again.
Yeah.
So you can look at the game on the weekend, which was great.
We might get 10 out of Van Rooyen when in a couple of years' time he's going to be a star.
Harrison Petty's not going to bob up and kick you six again.
He's an accurate set shot.
He is, and he's been playing back and forward, but clearly it all worked yesterday for him.
Against a very good defence, mind you.
Yeah.
The names are Grimes, Broad, Bolter,
Vlosten.
and Young has been doing a fantastic job back there, and Vlosten to help out.
I think the Richmond game plan or game style now is very much offensively minded.
Yeah.
And both these clubs.
Well, they scored 98 points themselves.
Yeah, both these clubs. It was roll the dice at stoppages. If you won the clearance, off you went. They were both just scoring at will. So I wouldn't say that it was the most defensively minded Richmond side, and they got open up, and then finally the West Coast Eagles won again.
So I can't see Grundy
slotting back in, not in the form that Max is in.
Not in that. No, the form that Max is in, and then the way the forward line functioned. Clearly now they're going to persist with that forward line, and they're going to try and make it work because you're not testing something at round 23 or round 24 the week before the finals. And on the weekend, apparently 40-kilometre-an-hour winds out of Casey. So tough conditions for a forward. Tough audition for Brody Grundy.
Can you imagine how shit that'd be?
Imagine how far away from the MCG you'd be feeling at the moment. It'd be a million miles. So tough one. And then obviously the Battle of the Wooden Spooners. North Melbourne got cleaned up, got just beaten, narrowly beaten by Hawthorn.
Grundy'd be feeling how I felt a couple of weeks ago, JB, when I did the Port Adelaide Essendon game at the MCG. Goal after the siren, 40,000, crowd went wild. And the next day I had to drive out to Frankston.
That's right.
That's how I felt. Good for Simo that they got the win. A lot of people were questioning whether West Coast Eagles wanted to win. You know, with the number one draft pick still on offer, both each side's going to be fighting it out. But it was a pretty good game.
Yeah,
West Coast tried hard.
Yeah, North Melbourne kept fighting back a couple of times. So at the end of the day, they're both on 2 wins apiece now, aren't they? West Coast knocked over GWS. It's unbelievable now to look back and think GWS got beaten by West Coast in round 2 of the season. And the way, GWS, you know, are up there in flag contention now, the way they're playing, they've been magnificent. So
they could afford to win that, though, West Coast, because their percentage is about 17 off North Melbourne, so they're never going to jump off the bottom of the ladder. Fascinating game, round of footy. We'll go to a break, JB. We'll come back. I want to talk to you about, well,
an
Dane
unsavoury
Zorko.
incident on the weekend.
Dane Zorko and his mouth.
Righto.
This is Brownie's Podcast!
Welcome back to Brownie's Podcast. Now,
Quickly, Beck, how's our man Brown Dog? How's he performing as Dino's fill-in?
I couldn't notice a difference.
oh,
Really?
I'm not a host like Sam Pang was last night at the Logies, but I'm just
magnificent.
easing myself in.
I'll tell you what, he's probably a little bit lower blood alcohol level than our man Dino at the moment.
I'm so wrapped that you told me he missed his flight. I love nothing more than when bad shit happens to other people like that.
So, you know, he forgot he left his suit at the airport, Melbourne Airport, on the way up.
Right.
Chrissy had to bring it up for him.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So
He's made an absolute meal of it.
he's made a meal of it. Chrissy got the suit there in time. So I think his story that he had no responsibility in his flight being late to Brisbane to catch the connector to Bali. I think that's got whiskers all over it. I think the fact that he got caught in Daryl Summers' room at 6 a.m, he's missed the initial flight to Brisbane, and then he thought, that's all right, I'll get the flight an hour later. And that's put him over the connecting flight. He's saying, mate, nothing to see here, not his fault.
Is he a chance to cancel the Bali trip full stop?
No chance. I think he's a chance to cancel at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we may never see him again, our man Dino. But he's been, he was very good. He's very good, but he hasn't been missed so far in this episode.
There was a squirrel gripping incident on the weekend. Now, Took Miller, we spoke about he brought the heat to the Lions, and not only did he bring the heat, but it's been alleged by Dane Zorko himself that Zorko was grabbed Or squirrel gripped.
Squirrel grip, absolutely. A good old-fashioned squirrel grip. Now, Beck, do you know what a squirrel grip is?
I'm not familiar, no.
A squirrel grip, and you might be, I'm not sure if you can Google this up, but a squirrel grip is where you get grabbed by the testicles and they get squeezed, and usually in a deliberate fashion, brown dog. That is the definition of a squirrel grip, and that's a tactic that's an age-old tactic, Beck, that's been used on a footy field for hundreds of years.
The squirrel grip is when you grab someone by the testicles, hence you have a handful of nuts. So that's where the squirrel component comes into it.
You ever heard anything like that, Beck?
No, never. This
Well,
is
there
my
you
first
go.
time hearing it.
And Dane Zorko, well, I'm going to say this. Snitcher's going to snitch because it was only about 8 weeks ago that he came out and he snitched on James Sicily over the
This is a big allegation. Why are you saying this?
the McCluggage tackle. He went on. I know he does. He must do a Monday morning radio segment.
Yeah.
And we love honesty in football, but he threw Sicily under the bus there, and said how disappointed he was in James Sicily and the tackle technique.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit over the top.
And here he's come out again and basically said he's disappointed, but the AFL didn't investigate and suspend Took Miller because he's got bruising around the testicles.
Well, wouldn't
and
you be
apparently-
disappointed if you got deliberately squirrel gripped?
I'd just be wrapped that someone touched me cock for a change.
Oh, is that right? Well, it's actually his balls, mate. Mate,
You can't get just the balls without some part of the penis.
I was calling the game, and we're trying to work out what actually happened because it was a fiery clash. Took Miller obviously led the charge against Lachie Neale. Dane Zorko came in, so there was a tackle. Now I wasn't
You
sure.
could be upset in the moment.
Well, I wasn't sure whether he'd accused him of biting or any other sort of allegation. I was trying to read the lips. It's hard when you actually call in the game. I asked our producer a couple of times what the hell happened there, but obviously now it's clear for all to see that it was a squirrel grip, and Dane Zorko's left everyone in no uncertain terms by doing that media interview.
but I think that you can be upset in the moment there. When
Mate, not a squirrel grip.
I don't
That
think
is-
it's intentional.
That is too far.
I don't think it's intentional.
Well, he reckons it was. He reckons there was definitely a reach, a grab, and a squeeze.
But then you don't need to come out publicly and have another crack at him on the Monday.
Well, he was disappointed the AFL
he
didn't
was.
do anything
He's
about it.
snitching again.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
It's your club. He's your ex-captain. Is he still your captain?
No, he's not the
No, he's
captain
not the
anymore.
captain
No,
anymore.
Lachie Neale and
But
Harris
he
Andrews.
was.
Yeah.
And it's multiple times now
Well,
that he's happy to just throw.
But
other
how did the
players on him.
AFL say nothing to see
Mate,
here?
the
when
AFL
clearly
say
it's
that all
been-
the time.
Yeah, but how did they say that when clearly, obviously, Dane Zorko's made it clear that there was a squirrel grip? There's a deliberate attempt to grab one's testicles.
The MRO officer would have to ask him to pull down his pants and see the bruising.
Oh,
For
is that
for
right?
clear evidence.
I'd like to see that. Imagine that, imagine Dane Zorko flying down here, or Michael Christian flying up to Brisbane. Right, Dane, or Tink, as
Show
we
us
call him.
some evidence.
Drop your dax.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's nothing's going to happen there. But it's interesting here. Not as bad as we've seen over the journey. Remember years ago, Sydney player Peter Philandia, when he was playing in the reserves, I think he was playing for Port Melbourne against Springvale, against St Kilda's listed player Chad Davis. He bit Chad Davis on the testicles.
Did he?
Yeah, he was saying he was gasping for air. He knew nothing else. He was trying to get some relief and bit Chad Davis on the nuts.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
He drew blood.
Did he really?
He drew blood and was suspended for 10 matches.
Wow.
He's suspended for 10 matches, Peter Philandia. So that was pretty much the end of his footy career after that. Hard to come back from
You can't.
a biting incident at one's testicles. So I'm not sure. Anyway, obviously, Took Miller will come back.
He'll be fine.
He'll play this week and there'll be nothing to see.
We'll take a quick break, JB. What a world after this. You got to hear this one to believe it.
This is Brownie's Podcast.
Time for
What a world!
in West Bengals, North area, 24 Pagranas district. That's the exact location. A couple,
Where's West Bengals? In India?
it'd be Africa,
Okay.
I reckon. Maybe. West
Well,
Bengal, Beck, do you know where it is?
I'm-
I said
idea.
India and you said, yeah, it'd be Africa. I'm pretty sure India is in Asia. Southern Asia and Africa
India's right.
is Africa.
Yeah, West Bengal. You did right. You did right. India, in India, West Bengals.
Can we do a geography lesson after
class.
this? Yeah.
A couple shockingly sold their 8-month-old baby,
Yeah.
sold the baby to purchase a coveted iPhone 14. Just a normal iPhone 14. All in pursuit of
My kids
creating
would do that.
captivating reels on Instagram while travelling around their region. Authorities have taken swift action and police have filed charges against the couple involved in the transaction and the woman who bought the child. This shocking incident happened when neighbours noticed strange behaviour from the couple. Even though their 8-month-old baby was missing, the parents didn't seem worried or anxious at all. The neighbours became more suspicious when the Gosh family suddenly got this expensive iPhone 14 that cost around $1 lakham. Not sure how much that is in the local currency. And they were going around taking photos, happy as Larry. This surprised a lot of the late neighbours because the family had financial problems. And therefore, they're going to be charged here. Hey, could you believe that, mate? One iPhone 14 and you sell your 8-month-old baby. What a world.
What a world. Come to think of it, isn't it? Like, you put a value on some of your kids.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, like,
not priceless.
Like, I've got the eldest, Olivia, Jack.
Yeah.
I'd sell Jack for a bucket of chips at the moment. The amount of questions he's asking. And little Macy, well, she's probably going for a pretty expensive motor vehicle, I would have thought. But I can absolutely understand. Well, there you go. Post round 20, Brown Dog. We survived without Dino. Beck, what do you reckon?
Survived without Brody.
If you're giving a movie review, you give 5 stars. How many stars for this performance?
7.5?
Yeah, nice.
7.5.
So Friday...
7.5 over 5 stars. You're a great judge.
I thought it was out of 10.
We'll be back Friday. We'll have no Dino because he'll still be in Bali if he gets there.
I know. I think we're going to have Dino. Dino took some broadcasting equipment over there.
Oh, did what I did.
Hopefully he's still alive.
There you go.
Except you didn't take your headphones, you idiot. Hopefully Dino will still be alive after a few bintangs, no doubt about it. And we haven't even brought Brody's name up, have we?
Nah.
No one really cares.
He came back for one episode, he's gone again.
He's gone again.
Mate, he's a disgrace. Hope you enjoyed that episode, Degenerates. We'll see you Friday.
Take care.